When we started, there was a real challenge about bringing two big concepts together.
It felt like trade and climate were very opposite things.
It's complicated, that lots of people have different opinions. It's hard to come to a consensus.
I knew absolutely nothing about trade or climate.
The main thing is to bring people from across the country to talk about the relationship between trade policy and climate change, and to demonstrate to them that they can understand what is often seen as a very complex, super technical kind of area, but actually the core business is really important to everyday life, and it's very political. Trade itself contributes to climate change in various ways, but it also offers trade policy, offers a number of tools to be able to combat climate change.
This project is all about bringing together a representative sample of citizens from across the UK, all regions, all backgrounds, to deliberate on a question that we thought was really important and wasn't being adequately dealt with by our government, which is how trade policy should support the government's climate goals. The government's action has not been adequate to the urgency of the challenge.
We wanted people to be able to take their own perspectives through the story. So we send out 21,000 postcards to be able to find 70 people that are representative of the UK population by gender, ethnicity, region, income background, through which is a proxy we use for education and occupation. So we've got a real statistical representation of the incredible diversity of the UK population involved.
It's encouraging to see that actually, if you take a random selection of the UK population, even if they don't necessarily have all the answers, they are really eager in finding an answer and something that's actionable and that works for everyone in a very fair and equitable way.
The Citizen Assembly made me realise how much trade and climate change are so intertwined together, and it's not just the action of one country, but the entire world.
I'm a bit stunned at the lack of transparency the government has shown in terms of how they use their resources, in terms of how they subsidise some of the big corporates and with the amount that they actually use.
The biggest takeaway is the lack of transparency that the government give to us on the money that they're investing. Just a wake-up call as to how bad the climate situation is at the moment and how little time we have to change our ways.
And I think what I've learned is that trade has a very established system in place with legal repercussions if somebody else doesn't like. Climate doesn't have any of that. So what we're trying to do is use the trade system to tweak it and add in little climate caveats to things to try and improve the climate situation.
I think it's really nice seeing people really dedicating their time and trying their best. I think it just gives you more sort of general faith in the community. Like, people are often quite down about things or down on society, so going and see people honestly try and answer and experts come and give their opinion, I think it's quite uplifting.
I think my opinion is important as well as a citizen.
So there were some reservations about whether we'd be able to get people on the right page in terms of their learning about both of those, because it's a randomly selected group, so people come at this from different levels, and trade generally isn't spoken about in the UK by the public that much. So we were a bit concerned, would this work? Will people get into the detail? And it proved its worth. They're into the detail, they're working through the recommendations, and they're doing it brilliantly.
So I'm hoping what actually comes out at the end is going to be simple, listened to, and that ultimately it will have a tangible effect on climate change at some point in the future.
I think I've been really pleasantly surprised by it is possible to reach a consensus. I've always believed in a lot of individual responsibility and the power of consumers to make individual choices, but it's also really made me think that policy is where we're going to see real big change.
So it's been great to be among people and have a say in what might happen in the UK in years to come.
Well, I hope the government takes it seriously. Citizens speaking about what they think, for the government to listen, hopefully, and take on board the recommendations and put into place.
I really hope the government will take them into consideration, because it's what the population wants.
It's for the younger generation, my grandchildren, that will be affected by it.
I think it's really important that the government also communicate with other countries and not just make unilateral decisions to ensure that there's a bit more harmony amongst the global community, because at the end of the day, we are a global community.
But I think just to show the public platform, really, in government, that this is what the public want.
Just like the impact that international trade has on the climate, I didn't realise quite how much of an impact that has. Yeah, I'm just grateful to be a part of this process, really, really grateful. And yeah, I hope the government can act now to save the Earth.